Hi, everybody. I thought today I would talk a little bit about my personal mission statement, my values, my principles, goals, things like that, because I do spend some time talking about that on the Back Porch Writer program. I have a series called How to Create the Life That You Want. And I share how you go about doing that, but I didn't really share much about my personal mission statement and how I came to it. So, years ago, I read the book by Stephen Covey that lots of people have read, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, and I did that as a requirement for my job that I happened to have back then. Well, this year I've been having some just different challenges that I wanted to work through, and so I picked the book up again, and I realized that while I'm always setting goals, and I pretty much knew who I was and what I'm about, I really hadn't done a personal mission statement in years, probably like, 15, 20 years or something, having a personal mission statement. And so I thought I should sit down and do that. And part of that process meant sitting down and actually writing down what are my values, what are my guiding principles, and then create the mission statement. And as it turns out, my personal mission statement has everything to do with my children and making sure that my children know who I am and what I stand for and what I value. So that's what my personal mission statement ended up to be. So it includes things like the fact that I value abundance. I don't have a scarcity mentality. I value abundance. And I have forever, for as long as I can remember. I value things like fairness and justice and learn by doing. I love to just go in and learn stuff. I'm kind of geeky that way. I value things like compassion and empathy and love and honesty. These are really important things to me. They're not just things to give lip service to. They guide everything that I do with my children, my husband, my friends, things like that. These are really important values and principles to me. The fact that I believe that everything that goes around comes around, so I better behave, is kind of a big deal. I also believe that I get what I expect. I believe in the Pygmalion effect. And I think that that can happen positively or negatively. So I tend to focus on the positive. Now, that doesn't mean I don't get down once in a while. Everybody does. I just don't happen to stay down very long. And I tend to really think from a positive perspective. But that's who I am, and that's what I wanted my children to know. If somebody said, tell me about your mom, what's your mom about? I'd want them to be able to say things like that. She believes she gets what she expects. She doesn't believe in failure the same way that other people define it. She believes she's responsible for her life, and that's what I want them to be able to articulate. And I want them to be able to say things like, and she loves white popcorn, which they have shared with plenty of people over the years, that I happen to love white popcorn, and that my favorite color happens to be yellow, or at least one of my favorite colors, and I love sunflowers. They would say those things, and then they'd also say, she believes in what goes around comes around, because I happen to say it a lot. She believes in helping other people because we see her do it. So this is all part of my personal mission statement. It does not include, oddly enough, being a published author. It has nothing to do with that. Yeah, I love publishing books and I love writing books, and this is fun, and I want to have a successful career at it. But at the end of the day, my personal mission statement doesn't include that. This is the stuff that on my deathbed, I want my kids to be able to say about their mom. And if they happen to include, and she wrote books, and she was good at it, great. But what's really important is that they can articulate things like, I was compassionate, I was empathetic, I'm someone who values justice and freedom, and she went after what she wanted, and she never gave up, she was very determined, things like that. So that's why that's important to me. It's how I set my goals. I have lots of goals, but okay, I shouldn't say lots, because I used to have a ton of goals. Now I've narrowed it down just a little bit. So I set a goal like in my career path, my personal path, with my family and things like that. Try not to overdo it too much. I've got a year's worth of time I'm working on. So that's what I do. And at the end of the year is when I evaluate how I did throughout the year, and I decide if I want to let something go or continue to work on that particular goal. Because maybe I do. Sometimes I find out that I had a goal that I thought was going to be a great goal, and I really, really thought I wanted it, and then I find out at the end of the year that I didn't do anything relating to that goal. That's usually a very valuable lesson for me when I discover that, because that just tells me whatever that was not nearly as important as I thought it was. So I'm getting better at my goal setting, I think. And goal setting really comes down to being really realistic about everything and being real with yourself when you're setting them. And I've learned that over time. It took a little time to really get that down. So now I'm pretty happy with the goals I have. I'm very, I mentioned determined, but I'm also one of those people who I love a challenge. And so in my career path, my challenge for myself is to next year write several short stories and group them in box sets of 3 or 4, and then write 3 books in that time. Can I do it? Who knows? We'll find out. I'm going to try my hardest to do it, that's for sure. I've got some great titles. I think I just need to sit down and write them. And right now, I'm, as you know, working on Hush and doing the final edits and formatting for that. And I'm writing some short stories to put out that you all can enjoy along with Hush. Just finished 2, the number 2 short story in that. I'm doing 2 more, and then I'll release 3, I think is how I'm going to do that one. But that's related to the fact that I love learning and I love a challenge, and I'm very determined. These are things that I value. So the question for you is a personal mission statement important to you? Do you have one? And have you shared it with anybody else? Because that's what I wanted to do. I hadn't really shared it with anybody else. I haven't even discussed it with my husband, actually. So me putting this on video and then putting it on YouTube is the first he'll ever hear of it. And so there you go. What's your personal mission statement if you happen to have one? And if you feel comfortable, share it in the comments. But if you don't feel comfortable sharing in the comments, that's fine. Find someone else that you can share your mission statement with. And if you don't have kids, what's part of your mission statement? And if you do have kids, are they part of your mission statement? Like in mine, they happen to be, it's all about me imparting my values and goals and letting them know who I am to them. So everybody's different. So I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments. Have a great day.